Well, this is going to be a different type of video for me. A Silent Voice was produced by Kyoto Animations and released in 2016, but I watched it for the first time last week, and it's been on my mind ever since. I streamed it twice on Netflix, and then I bought it on Blu-ray, and then after my third viewing, I decided to pick up the 7-volume manga that's based on. So I guess you can say that I kinda liked it. The manga was written by Yoshito Kiyama, and the movie was directed by Naoka Yamada. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing these names correctly. That's going to be a trend for the rest of this video, so heads up. Now, even though I fell out of the anime scene years ago, probably around 2015 or so, only really popping in to see what Dragon Ball was up to. And to check out the other type of anime if you know what I'm saying.
Hentai 2.
But still, even though I've always heard about this movie, people singing its praises online, same with Your Name by the same studio. I've always heard good things. I've seen a few images and clips, but I never really felt the need to seek it out and watch it. Until recently, which is kind of a funny story, but I'll talk more about that at the end of this video, because I think the situation was kind of hilarious. But for now, I want to talk about A Silent Voice and why it's the first anime I've seen in years that really hit me, and made me remember why I used to watch this stuff.
I cried through the entire thing and made me want to be a better man.
Now, I'm currently not done reading the manga, so I'm not going to be making many comparisons between the two. Maybe in the future I'll discuss the differences, but for now, I want to talk about the movie just straight up as is. And I'm going to be discussing spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, then you should leave right now and watch it. I'm serious. I want you to experience it. Really, it's on Netflix, just get the fuck out of here. So here's the gist. A high schooler named Shoya reconnects with a former classmate from elementary school named Shoka. She's a deaf girl that he used to bully, and now he's got in touch with her with the intention of making amends for all the terrible things he did in the past. He ends up befriending her little sister, along with a new group of friends.
You'd have to be a major douchebag. Who bullies a deaf kid?
Yeah, who would do something like that? Shoya, you paying attention?
You son of a bitch! You piece of shit!
Now, after hearing that setup, you might think that it leans very heavy on the romance, and would probably be the focal point of the whole movie, but surprisingly, no. I mean, there's clearly some attraction there, and there's even a scene where Shoko says she loves Shoya, but unfortunately for her, it doesn't come through clearly, which leads to Shoya being confused, and me being frustrated because god damn it, I was so happy she got the confidence to do this, and it didn't work out. Pay attention, Shoya.
The moon? No, you son of a bitch. I don't understand why you can't grasp that point.
Anyway, the focus isn't just on the romance. I mean, hell, they don't even have a kiss or even hug in the movie like you probably expect. If anything, it's more about friendship and connecting with people. And more importantly, learning to forgive yourself and becoming a better person. As well as touching on the effect bullying has on someone, and how most people are willing to just ignore it. As well as social anxiety and even suicide. It really hits a lot of different topics, and I want to touch on them all at least a little bit, so let's get into it. So as a kid, Shoko joins Shoya's class, and at first the kids are intrigued because they never met anyone like her. She's definitely can only communicate with her notebook, and some of the kids are actually willing to help her out. Shoya is intrigued, but he mostly ignores her. But then quickly the other students start to feel like she's become a burden on them, and Shoya picks up on this. And seemingly in an attempt to lighten the moods of his classmates, he starts to pick on her. Small at first, mocking the way she speaks, but then things start to escalate, becoming more and more cruel, until he finally takes it too far and ends up seriously hurting her, which causes the school to get involved, where all the other students place the blame on Shoya. Even though he points out their involvement, he ultimately takes most of the blame for it all. After Shoya's mother hears about this, she's upset with him and pays for the broken hearing aids. And then from this point on, he starts to get bullied by his classmates and friends as well. Then finally, Shoko switches schools, and when Shoya goes into junior high, he loses all of his friends and becomes a quiet, introverted person. Now, the bullying feels very real, in the sense that we've all seen something like this go down. We're not all Shoya in this situation. We're not the one actually doing the bullying, but we are more than likely his classmates, either sitting back going along with it, laughing with everyone else, or making some crude remarks behind their backs, or just ignoring it entirely. But the real cherry on top that makes it feel authentic is the school's reaction to it. Their teacher straight up just doesn't care, and doesn't get involved until the principal does, and right away he calls out Shoya, because like he said, well, if you knew, why didn't you do something? It depicts bullying in a very real way, and the long-term effects it can have on people. Shoko basically gets terrorized, but most of her classmates just don't really care, and clearly, neither does the school. But after this event, Shoya becomes an introverted person, a far cry from how he was as a kid, and he starts to develop some pretty bad social anxiety. We see this in various angles that give us Shoya's perspective. You see, after being exiled by his classmates and his own friends, he stopped looking people in the eyes. So there are several scenes and angles where we don't see people's faces, showing us how Shoya sees things. And on top of that, everyone has an X on their face, and he doesn't hear them, showing how he shut himself off from everyone else. He doesn't know them, and he doesn't want to know them. But gradually, the X's start to fall off people's faces as he opens up. It's a really nice visual motif that shows Shoya's state of mind, which leads me to... Shoya makes friends with Shoko as well as several others, and the exes begin to fall off their faces as he starts to open up. But in his mind, there's a constant struggle whether or not he deserves happiness, if it's okay for him to be happy because of all the terrible stuff he did. He eventually ends up pushing everyone away, except Shoko and her sister, before finally opening back up towards the end. Now, at the very beginning of the movie, Shoya was going to take his own life, but after talking to Shoko, he decides against it. He finds himself wanting to get to know her, but not sure whether or not it was okay to do so. And then after making a new friend, he builds up the courage to see her again. And then from there, he meets new and old friends that pull him out of his rut. This really shows the importance of friendship and how it just takes one good friend to change everything. How having a connection with someone can impact your life. Of course, Shoyo doesn't know how to feel about it, but then he learns to accept it and realizes that it's okay to feel happy again. Throughout most of the movie, his mindset is pretty much stuck in the past, just constantly thinking about what he did. But he's not the same kid he was before. He's learned, grown, and changed. We actually get to see his opposite in the form of Naoka. Naoka was a girl that sat right next to him, who was also a bully. Only she didn't get in trouble like Shoyo did, so she didn't change at all. The first thing she does after seeing Shoko after 5 years is take out her hearing aids and wants to toss them around, like they used to when they were kids. She really shows what kind of person Shoya could have been if he hadn't gotten in trouble and suffered the consequences for his actions. Someone who hadn't changed, who probably doesn't want to change, and doesn't feel that bad for what they did. Matter of fact, she actually hates Shoko, because she blames her for the reason why Shoya got in trouble and lost all his friends. And Shoya easily could have gone down the same road, but he didn't. He knows what he did was wrong, and is actively trying to change it. Although to be fair, in Naoka's case, by the end of the movie she actually does know a little bit of sign language. I mean, she used it to insult Shoko, but maybe there's an attempt there to actually change.
Moron.
Moron. Moron.
You son of a bitch!
Really, I feel like the main focus of the whole movie is about forgiveness. Asking for forgiveness from others, but more importantly, learning to forgive yourself. Because more than anyone, Shoya beats himself up over what he did. And it's a hurdle trying to forgive himself for it all. And it's to the point where he believes he doesn't deserve friendship or happiness. But of course, by the end of it, he finally learns to forgive himself and to open up to people again. Culminating in just one beautiful final scene. Now, one thing you might have noticed in many other videos about A Silent Voice is that at some point the narrator ends up telling a personal story about either bullying or suicide. Now, I'm not going to do that because, quite frankly,
that's none of your business.
But seriously, I think it's a testament to this movie's quality that it's able to hit so many people and have them connect with several different things. Either the bullying, the suicide, the depression, the anxiety, shutting yourself off from the world. It's really impressive that it's able to hit so many people on so many levels, to the point that they're willing to share a personal story. And honestly, me just talking about the movie just really doesn't do it justice. It really is something you just gotta sit down and experience. I guess the last things to mention are just the obvious stuff. The animation is beautiful. Some very solid and smooth animation, and just some really incredible looking sequences that really pop with a lot of color. I also like that several characters will actually change clothes throughout the movie, instead of just wearing the same outfit in every scene. Outside of their school uniforms, of course. It's a small thing that I really appreciate. Yeah, so without a doubt, it just looks great. And the music is good too. It's a little tear-jerky at times, but it's really effective. And it's actually a very interesting video that goes over the music in more detail. You should definitely check it out because I can't do it justice here. So it goes without saying that this is one beautifully animated and greatly composed movie. But if I had one complaint, it would be that a few of the side characters are just basically nobodies and pretty unimportant. I'm sure they're more fleshed out in the manga, but in the movie, some of them are just kind of there. But the main cast of characters are great, and even though there are a few side characters that aren't that important to the overall story, it's not that big of a deal. Although there is one other thing. I do wish they dived a little bit more into how Shoko feels about things. We get a lot of subtle hints, either in the form of quick flashbacks, or from her very small reaction to things. But we finally understand how she feels when she attempts to take her own life, and when she talks to Shoya on the bridge at the end. I think maybe it was done this way to make these scenes more powerful, and maybe that's so. I just would have liked to see a bit more from her perspective. Again, maybe it's expanded upon in the manga, and for the way the story is told here, it does work. Just that conversation at the end between her and Shoya was just really good. I just wanted to see a little bit more about how she felt before it happened. Guys, overall this movie is just fucking great, and I recommend this movie for anyone to check out. It really has been a while since the anime really just hit me like this, and there's just so much more to discuss, but I instead want you guys to experience it for yourself. I've already spoiled a lot of it, but no matter what I say, I just cannot do it justice. It's just something that you really gotta see. And now I'm at the part of the video where I tell you guys why I'm just now watching this movie 5 years later. So on the internet's biggest trash fire known as Twitter.com, this movie tends to pop up every couple months for various reasons for being quote unquote problematic. And it's usually various different reasons. Sometimes it's about deaf representation in anime being really bad. Sometimes it's about the main character, how he was a bully but yet he's the main focus of the story, because these people forget how redemption arcs work. But the argument I saw was actually a more unique case, and I really wish I had screenshots of this. So basically, someone brought up a silent voice, and people started bickering back and forth about it. And there was just one argument that really stuck out to me because it was so interesting. And their argument was basically this: a silent voice is problematic because it's a story about a man who used to pick on and bully a girl, who then ends up befriending her in the future, and they form feelings for each other. Therefore, the chick who was bullied falls in love with her abuser. So this story is actually about how men like to demean women, and women being okay with that.
No one fucking asked you, you fucking cocksucker!
I wish I could make up something this fucking stupid. And of course, there were several people just disputing that, with someone else also mentioning the fact that the creator of the manga is a woman, and the director of the movie is a woman. So it's not very likely that it's a male power fantasy about demeaning women, and women being okay with it. It was very clear that the person who said this didn't actually watch the movie. Hell, even me with my passing knowledge about it knew that was completely off base. And so honestly, just to spite that person, I checked out the movie. And I'm so happy I did because damn, what an experience. So I guess I should say thank you, random stranger on the internet complaining about nothing. You reinvigorated my interest in anime and got me to watch something very good. And I think that's gonna about do it for the video. If you haven't seen A Silent Voice, I highly recommend you do. But if you have seen it, leave a comment, let me know what do you think about it. And fuck it, while we're at it, since I have an interest in anime again, go ahead and drop a list of your favorite anime of all time. Or if you have some recommendations for me or anybody else. Me myself personally, I recommend the Certified Hood classic. After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. If you can get past the pretty awkward first couple episodes, it's actually a pretty interesting watch. Still kind of fucking weird though. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go and drop a like on it. And I'll give a nice big shout out to the channel members. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, click the join button down below and check out the perks. If they interest you, consider joining. Or not, it don't matter.
None of this matters.
Want some tea?
Give me my tea, bitch!